up, everybody? BlueDog35 here in my slightly improved lighting garage. In my hands, under my many chins, I have a mechanic's stethoscope. Shout out to the Cole Township AutoZone. All the guys there. They're definitely cool guys. Very knowledgeable, very, you know, all that stuff. Not like the idiots that run the Plastow, New Hampshire AutoZone. But anyways, this is a mechanic's stethoscope. I have a crazy ticking sound in my engine. When it heats up or when it gets warm or whatever, it tends to have a rapping sound. And I'm not talking like, you know, W to your homies. I'm talking like straight up, you know, knock knock, who's there? It's not rod knock though, because I have absolutely plenty of oil pressure. So what I'm going to do is fumble with this. I'm going to play doctor with my car. I'm going to ask it to turn its head and cough, and I'm going to figure out where the hell the noise is coming from. So I'm going to walk you through my way of diagnosing, and yeah, so let's reposition the camera and start her up. So you can kind of hear it. I apologize for my yelling. I don't know how well the camera's picking me up. But you can kind of hear it. It's like a rattle rattle. I suspect it's coming from this bank. And I think it's just in a valve adjustment. I hope it is. I thought it was possibly a loose exhaust or an exhaust leak like on the bottom of the header. I checked that already and it is not. So the engine's kind of shaking. It does that until it warms up, and then it's okay. I do need 2 oxygen sensors, and it's throwing a throttle position sensor code. So that guy's right here. But when it starts to slow down and idle after it, you know, stabilizes and everything, the knock is a lot more pronounced, or the rattle, whatever you want to call it. It sounds like it's over here. I'm hoping it's not piston knock. Or piston slap. That's the word. I'm hoping it's not piston slap, because that's kind of really bad, because I just threw this together. Like, I literally just got this back together. So I'm going to let it warm up. And not to full operating temperature, but just so that the idles come down. And it quiets down a bit, and then I'm going to give it a listen. Another thing that it could be is the timing belt tensioner. When they fail, they make a lot of noise. And I have 2, and I kind of mixed them up. I wasn't sure which one was the new one or the old one. So, because they looked very similar. They weren't dirty or greasy or anything. So they look very similar, and they're both Gates parts. So, if it comes down to that, then I will unfortunately have to take the front of the engine apart. I just really hope it's not anything bottom end. So I'm going to go ahead and put my stethoscope on here and start listening. Alright, so what I'm hearing, when I put it on this side, I'm hearing a metallic clicking. Over here is fine, and the middle sounds okay. My only concern is when I listen with my actual ears, it's coming from around here. I put it on the tensioner bracket for the timing belt tensioner, and I don't hear a thing. I just hear, you know, normal whining and whizzing, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to give it one more look, listen. I barely hear anything on the driver's side. I hear it more through the intake, because right here I can hear a loud ticking. I can hear it ticking, but I don't hear it there. I don't hear it in the middle. It is more to the left side. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this off and take the passenger side valve cover off and take the radiator hoses out, or the radiator fans out, and adjust the passenger side valves. Alright, so for those of you who think it might be rod knock or yeah, rod knock, it's got plenty, and I mean plenty of oil pressure. When I start it, when it's cold, it's got about maybe 65 to 70 pounds. And when it warms up, when I just shut it off, it was at a little over 20. Which is pretty much normal for a Subaru. So I'm going to let this cool down just a bit so I don't get scalded by oil. I'm in the middle of painting the rear spoiler that I got for this as well. So I'm going to go see if that's dry, because I just wet sand it. So I'll come back to this when it's cooled off a little bit. Alright, so I got the valve cover off. I apologize for the noise in the background and whatever the hell that was. That was me dropping a valve cover bolt. I have the valve cover off. It was a bit of a bear. I did not unbolt the engine or anything like from the chassis. I have a socket on the end of the crankshaft to rotate it, and I'm going to use this, which is the little, I just noticed you can't see because of this. Screw it, I'll just put it off to the side like this. This right here is the end off of the mechanic's stethoscope. I'm going to use this as an indicator for top dead center. So basically what I want to do is I want to rotate the engine until I see both of the valves on the top and the bottom closed, and wait until this comes up and stops coming up and just starts to go down, and then I'm going to back it up until it's at the top dead center. That is when you do the valve adjustment. I have a feeler gauge right here. I also have a fairly controversial video of me doing this by hand, by feel. So if you came here from there, I apologize. You know, I never said it was a how-to, so this is also not a how-to. This is just me doing it the right way. So I'm going to go around the camera and turn the crank until I see this guy do what it needs to do. So we're just going to rotate, and it is going down. I'm only going to be able to go a tiny bit at a time. I'm going to go ahead and take this out so it doesn't get lost in there, just in case, you never know. I have my small torque wrench that I'm using to do this. It's probably not the best idea to do that, but sorry for bumping the camera. That's, you know, all I got at the moment. So the piston is down. I think this is the power stroke because let's see. Nope, I don't know what this is yet. Piston is right there, and it's going down again. So I don't think this is going to work as well as I hoped it would. The exhaust valve is opening. I know you can't see, and I apologize for that. I'm just going to keep rotating this. I apologize for how boring this is. Alright, so that is going to be the intake stroke, because the intake valves are opening. And then this is going to be the compression stroke. So we're going to shove this in here and wait for it to come up and so we can feel the piston. Okay, I can feel the piston. And that is top dead center. Alright, so I'm able to do the intake and the exhaust at the same time on this. That does feel a little loose, and so do these ones. with this one, the one on the back for the first cylinder being the loosest. Now, there is going to be a little bit of play in them, and they might even be too tight. I don't really know. So, the spec for the intake is .007 and .178. So, let me, there we go. This is the spec for the intake. So, I'm going to shove this in here. And I can't get it in there, so that means it's too tight. And I can't get it in there, so that means it's too tight. So I'm going to grab my 10 mil spanner, which is my favorite one that I have. Actually, let me change the lighting here. I'm going to grab my 10 mil spanner. This is a gear wrench, and it's got a little floppy bit. And I'm going to grab my, my screwdriver that everyone hates. So, what we're going to do is loosen these guys. And I'm not going to use the ratcheting side. We'll just go like this. I gotta move this. I'm sorry for obscuring the view once again, but needs must. Alright, so these guys are loose, and all we're going to do is we're going to take our feeler gauge, and because I don't intend to use it on anything but Subarus, I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bend. It's not going to change the size of it, so I'm going to give it a little bend so I can fit better in here. And I'm going to take the world's most favorite screwdriver, and I'm going to lock it in place. And we're going to back off, and then we're going to tighten. So now it's got the correct setting, the correct lash setting, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten it down. Alright, so that's tightened down pretty good, and we're going to pull that out. So it's got the correct setting, and once again with the world's favorite screwdriver, I'm going to back it off so we can put this guy in here. We're going to not honk it down, but we're going to tighten it just enough, and then do the same with this side. First I'm going to finger tight it, and then I'll go at it with the spanner. And because this is a little oily, it'll be a little bit, you know, slick. And then pull the feeler gauge out. Now, it feels identical. If not, it feels looser. But that is the recommended lash for this engine. So now I need to go underneath the car and do the exhaust, which is also done on this particular stroke. So I need to set the bottom between 9 and 16. So let's see, that would be... Alright, so between this one and this one. So I know it doesn't really, whatever. I'm going to pick a medium, and I'm going to pick 13. So I'm going to set it at 13, and we'll come back when we're done with that. Alright, so I am done. I adjusted the valves on the passenger side, and I kind of kajiggered them. They feel a lot looser than they should be. I don't think tighter valves would cause a lot of noise, but you never know. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, and we'll see if it's louder. I think it's going to be louder. So it's still making the noise. That means that it is timing components. Joy! So I'm gonna dig into the timing now. Alright, so I have the timing cover off. My suspect is the timing tensioner. So what I'm going to do is start the car and play around a little. So, BRB. Alright, so it's very obvious. I don't know if it's this guy. Fixed! So, you heard, I put pressure right here. It doesn't straight up go away. Loose. But a good chunk of it goes away. So it's probably one of them. So there's two idlers. There's only one tensioner. And it's making a noise somewhere else. If I do this. It could just be the pulley that's on it. But the tick comes back when I take this, see? And then I put this here and I tension it myself. And the big tick, like the loud rattle, okay, so it's the tensioner and the timing gear. So what I need to do is replace the timing gear. That's going to be expensive. Alright, so it is late. It's not super late. It's 6:44 p.m. And I'm going to call it quits for today. I am redoing the timing, and I've swapped out tensioners. Tensioners, I said that very oddly. And I've swapped out two of the idler pulleys because I found one of the idler pulleys had a bit of a shimmy to it, and the other one is the one that goes bad all the time. It's the cogged one. So I decided to, you know, kind of swap that out. And, you know, because I found one that was in slightly better shape. And I'm going to come back tomorrow and finish this up. And hopefully it will not have the sound to it. So, yeah. I'm going to edit this video and throw it on up the YouTubes, and I'll have another one tomorrow, hopefully, when this is fixed. Hopefully it is fixed. I don't like doing timing on Subarus when the engine's in the car. The end.